Hey guys, Tech Agent, we're back with more videos. This time it's not a vintage headphone, nor is it just a normal headphone. It's a pretty different device. This is the Schiit Loki Mini. Now, I had featured this product on the channel a couple of videos ago, I think, and I promised a video on it. So finally, here we have it. I've been listening to this, testing this out for almost, you can say, 2 months now. So I have a pretty decent opinion on it, and I know, for the most part how it performs. So let's talk about now the Schiit Loki Mini. Is for a usual normal guy, it's an analog equalizer, but for me, I would say the correct term, and the term Schiit uses, is tone control. It's not an equalizer. You don't get the advantages you will get with the parametric EQ, or just normal other filters you can apply with DSP. But in the analog domain, which I've recently started getting into, because as you guys know, I'm getting into vinyl, and I really appreciate this form of listening. So most of my usual listening used to be 80%, I would say, in the digital domain, but now it's kind of becoming 50-50. So I spend a lot of time listening to my records, and for that reason alone, I cannot use the DSP and the filters and the corrections I use in my digital domain in the analog domain. So for that, I was looking for something which was clean for the most part and did the job fairly well. I obviously didn't expect to get the correction capabilities I get with a digital system, but for the most part, I just wanted a decent equalizer or a tone control where I can just fix the bass here and there for the records I'm listening to. So here is the Schiit Loki Mini. Now this is a fairly new product by Schiit. It was launched, and I would say the use case for this exact product is exactly what I'm using it for, which is records or any other analog form of listening. So I would absolutely not recommend this if you're having a computer and if you're listening on in the digital domain. But if you're in the analog domain, I think this is absolutely fantastic. And I'll talk about the capabilities of this product further in the video. But just a quick disclaimer: if you're using a PC, or if you're just in the digital domain, this product I would absolutely not recommend. It's very expensive for what it is, and you will not get the performance you can get on a DSP system, because it's just a different class altogether. So let's talk about the Schiit Loki Mini. First of all, the thing I really like about Schiit products is the design. As you can see, I've stacked it up against or on top of, or actually on bottom of my Schiit Magni 2. Now the difference, as you can obviously tell, is the Schiit Magni 2 was a steel chassis, whereas the Schiit Loki Mini is an aluminum chassis. So for that reason, it looks a little goofy here and there. If it was the Magni 2 Uber, or if it was a Magni 3, the design would have continued, but I have the original Magni 2, so it's kind of not matching, but that's fine. Here I have my turntable. So the turntable wiring is going to the Loki, and then the Loki is connected to the Magni via piston cables. The connection is pretty simple. I mean, it was absolutely not a problem connecting this to my turntable and getting the system up and running. So I like the inputs and outputs, and the way Schiit products are designed in general. I like the tactility of it. I like the button feel. Everything is just very solid. Everything just feels industrial, and that's why I like Schiit products for that reason alone. Now, Schiit characterizes the Loki Mini as a non-constant Q filtering device. What that basically means is that the bandwidth is gonna be variable depending upon the amplitude. What that basically means is that, let's say you're correcting 20 hertz right here, so the amplitude, as I'm increasing the amplitude at the maximum, it's I think plus 12 dB. So at plus 12 dB, the bandwidth is becoming narrower as we're going up the amplitude, and as lower you go, the bandwidth becomes wider. So there are advantages and disadvantages to the system, and I'm not going to talk about if it's bad or if it's good. It really depends upon the headphone you're trying to fix. This might be a good thing if you are having, let's say, something like the Sennheiser HD 800 or Sennheiser HD 600, so you can get decent even further bass extension out of it. But if you're using a very complex you can say headphone with bass variability which is quite high, and the frequency response, it's not pretty good. And the same applies to, I think just let me recheck, on the Schiit website it says plus minus 12 dB at 20 Hz and 8 kHz, and plus minus 6 dB at 400 Hz and 2 kHz. So yeah, the amplitude is basically half for two of the knobs and double for the other. So I would say the adjustment is enough for the respective frequency allocations they are given, and I think it's pretty well laid out for the most part. But again, as I said, the performance of this device will completely depend upon the headphone you are fixing. If it's a relatively linear headphone in the frequency response, yes, you can get amazing results out of this little device, and you will really enhance the vinyl listening experience if you want to have some control of the music. But don't expect high level or extremely sophisticated corrections out of this. This is just a simple little gizmo. It's not like the DSP corrections and the sophisticated filters you can apply in the digital domain. So for what it is, I think it's amazing, and I think it does a pretty good job for what it is. So Schiit Loki Mini, and overall, as I said, it really depends upon the headphones. So if you're buying, I hope you know what headphone you have. I hope you know the capabilities of that headphone, and I hope you know the capabilities of this device. That way, if you know all of that, then you can expect some pretty decent performance out of this little device. But otherwise, I would say it's a waste for the most part. So the Schiit Loki Mini, I really like it. The price point is a little high at 169, I think. I think it would have been a much better value at, let's say, $100 or maybe $80, but at 169 it's a little too high. Another couple of pointers is that the first batch of the Loki Minis, there were manufacturing issues where the knobs were a bit misaligned when they were at the completely stock position, where there was no correction applied in the middle. So there was a couple of quality control issues people faced in the first batch. I think Schiit fixed it, but mine doesn't have it. It's not as severe, a little bit, but not as severe. But everything else just works. There is no problem you can expect with this device. You also have a bypass switch if you don't want any EQ. You can do that, and the bypass switch Schiit says that it's very quiet and you cannot tell apart if it's off or on. So in general, I actually recommend the device. I think it's a pretty good gizmo for on-the-fly correction, very minute correction if you want to just have a little bit of flavor for the different records you're listening to, because again, all music is recorded differently. So for that, I think it's a fantastic thing. But again, don't expect it to be a DSP killer. It's not on the level of the sophistication you can get out of digital filters. So for what it is, I recommend it. I think it's fantastic for what it is, but don't expect it to be anything more than that. It's not the be all end all when it comes to correction. It's a very simple gizmo, and for that I think it's pretty good. But again, price point is a little high, and I think Schiit is coming up with parametric equalizers in the future. So I think if you don't really if it's not urgent buy, don't buy it right now, because Schiit is going to update the product line, and they do it quite frequently. So you can expect an array of equalizers coming by Schiit. So for that reason, it's a 50-50. Really depends. Schiit Loki Mini. I'll see you guys next time with more vintage headphones. All right.